Hey everyone, and welcome to Already Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are here to talk about Star Trek The Next Generation Season 2, Episode 11. It is called Contagion. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And this one takes us into the neutral zone. We got Romulans, we got the myth of the Iconians, which is a new thing that we've never heard of before, and we have some funky data shenanigans and lots of other things. Which ultimately, if I was to sum up this episode in one little phrase, there's one sentence to kind of really tell someone what this episode is about, I would describe it as an episode where there's a lot of malfunctions and the ship's seriously infected, and it takes them 45 minutes to consider the possibility of turning it off and turning it on again to fix the problem.
Yeah. I was gonna say it's getting a virus on your computer before they knew, before that was widespread terminology.
Yes.
And
Essentially, but ultimately the solution at the end of the episode is to turn. I mean, there's a little bit more to it than that, but it's basically turn it off and turn it on again.
I'm hearing Roy and Moss just shouting right now.
Yes, from the IT crowd, of course. That's not to make fun of it though, dimension, because I actually think the episode's pretty solid. But
yeah, it's pretty good.
I'm going to make fun of that detail because it's just kind of funny to me now in present day.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an episode where they go to a distress call from another ship, another Federation ship. The captain's an old friend of Picard's, and they're having serious malfunctions on board. Videos cutting out, life support's going in and out, everything like that. And then they have a quick sort of flurry of other malfunctions, and then the ship just completely blows up. And the Enterprise has to put shields up just to protect itself from the debris that's coming towards them now from the other ship. And it's this kind of sad moment. There's like a scene later with Wesley who comes in because he's like not dealing with the fact that he just watched hundreds of people die,
Man up.
if not thousands. But we have this, and then it's like, okay, well, what can we do? Like, what would we try and do here? And then a Romulan ship shows up because they're in the neutral zone. This is the thing; it's dangerous to come here. And Picard questions, before the ship blows up, he's like, "Hey, why are you in the neutral zone? Why is this where there's a problem?" And he's like, turns out he tracked through archaeology and whatnot. They've been looking for the Iconian home world for a long time. Because again, later with Wesley, we find that this is kind of, some people just think this is a myth. They don't think it's even real. But
we've had a few of these kind of.
But those in the know do know it's real, and this is maybe where it actually is. And they've got there's like myths of their technology which are far beyond anything the Starfleet has, and this other captain's like, no, we can't let any chance that the Romulans can get their hands on this because they would be so ahead of us if they could master it. So that's why he's there. And Picard says, well, we can't leave until we know for sure that this explosion was not caused by the Romulans, that the Romulan ship that appeared right after didn't in some way incite this. But we actually get like a whole scene with Geordi explaining why it was the ship. Whatever happened, it was on the ship itself. It was not like blasted from elsewhere. And what was funny is that this scene actually reminded me a lot of Chernobyl, because it was basically him standing there trying to explain why the engine did this and why the quantum whatever did that, and it felt very much like, is it a design flaw? Because that was a lot of Chernobyl's. Is it a design flaw? Is it a man-made mistake?
Yeah, I'm with you.
There was a lot of it was giving me flashbacks of that. And they're like, wait, so could it happen to us? Because then of course they start having malfunctions. This scene where Wesley comes to Picard and is like, hey, can we talk about what's happened, because I'm not coping very well. And the scene kind of plays out like I expected, because Wesley says, I don't understand how you and Riker can handle this so easily, and Picard's like, it's not easy. Like, just because we're keeping our cool does not mean that it's not difficult watching thousands of people die, and then having to keep running a ship and keep the brave face on, because otherwise your crew will freak out.
We'll do what you're doing, you little shit.
Yeah, you had confidence. But halfway through the scene, Picard goes up to the what do we call it? The materializer, whatever we name that thing, and he's like, herbal tea, hot. Really had to specify that. I feel like it'd come hot as default.
Oh no, I'd have thought so, but
I mean, I know there's definitely teas you can drink cold, but I feel like hot would be the default one. You'd specify otherwise,
especially for a herbal tea.
Yeah, but it gives him like a. I don't know, it was like a carrot in a plant pot or something like that he got out of it.
It was something stupid.
It was like a vegetable growing in a little plant pot. It was like, Wesley's like, didn't you order tea? Oh, good job, Sherlock. I'm glad you noticed that.
yeah. This definitely looks like food and drink.
I mean, it may be edible what's growing at it, but yeah, it's not a prepared
It's not
beverage.
a meal that you were expecting, though.
Well, I wasn't expecting. I was expecting a cup of tea.
Okay, sure, but if you were expecting food in terms of an edible meal.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is the first sign that the Enterprise is starting to have the same problem. Like, certain systems are just malfunctioning, lights are going on and off, and it's like, shit, we've got this same infection. Because they never use the word virus, I don't think the word virus is used.
No, I don't think it comes up.
But we see that the med bay struggling because they can't use the turbo lifts. Because there's a great, actually, one of my favorite scenes of this episode is a probe launches from the planet. Right, this orb starts coming towards them, and they know that one came towards the other ship as well, and Picard's like, "Oh, Geordi, we're going to try and capture this probe so you can analyze it and maybe figure out what happened to the other ship and then maybe use it." And Geordi's like, "Wait a minute, no!" But then the comms go because all the systems are malfunctioning, so the comms go and he can't talk to Picard. So we get this scene where Geordi is racing up to the bridge to tell him to no, you shoot that thing down, you blow it up before it even has a chance to scan us, and everything on his way, the doors were open for him. He gets to the turbo lift and he starts getting thrown around the turbo lift. Yeah. And he's doing all this acting. He's like, whoa,
it's crazy times.
And he gets thrown out the turbo lift and lands in the bridge with his visor off.
Convenient that it lets him get to the bridge.
Yeah. Well, if I don't know, you say that, but I was cynically thinking during the scene that this would be almost too ridiculous if it didn't, because everything's trying to stop him. Like, something has to at least kind of half work at some point, because it's meant to be random. It's not meant to be targeted. Because it almost plays like the ship doesn't want him to get there. Like something's actually stopping him.
No, it is. I'm surprised that the lift actually got to the bridge, though. That it felt like it was going sideways instead of up, for example. Like, it felt like it was going in a completely different direction. So I was surprised when it ended up there.
And you know for a fact that it's just straight up to the bridge from where he went in?
No, I don't. I'm saying it felt like it went in the wrong direction, though. If it did normally go up, it felt like it went sideways instead. You can tell me it goes sideways, and this felt like it went up. Either way, the point is it felt like it went wrong.
Yeah, could have done like U-shape, though. Could have done...
Could have done.
It went the long way, went the scenic route, but it got to the bridge in the end. And he's like, yeah, like that scanning is just going to make things worse. We got the infection from the ship logs, which actually I like that little detail actually, that we actually get to see this other captain's logs because Picard goes to watch them and I'm like, oh, these are useful for something. It's not just a useless excuse for narration every once in a while to explain
it's a nice little exposition device.
Yeah. So it's basically looking for this technology, and that's another thing that happens in the Wesley scene is that he thinks again the Iconians are a myth, and Picard's like, no, they existed, and we think that there was these 3 or 4 planets that all had like similar stuff, and that can't be true unless the one like race, the one like unified force was on all the planets together.
Yeah, common ancestor essentially.
And he says, so they colonized, and he's like, no, more likely took over, more likely invaded,
conquered.
So he explains this, and Wesley's kind of like, whatever. But ultimately, the one part I want to bring up though is that he talks about their technology and says that they didn't use spaceships. It was like they appeared like as to fly out of thin air, as if they were almost. Like, because the way he describes it in this scene, it almost sounds like a magical being just sort of like coming out of nothing and like floating.
Yeah, says the ship with the transporters.
True, yes.
He describes it as if it's this magical. I'm like, yeah, if you beam down to some random place that's never seen it before, it'll look like you just appeared out of nothing.
Yeah, I don't know why you're critiquing this though, because he makes that very point himself in like 10 seconds later.
Yeah, but it just felt like weird to like the way he presented it. Like, I don't know.
No, the wording he used was clearly not his own words. He was clearly saying the legends of old. He was saying how it was described. He's clearly saying this is what they said. This is what the stories say, is that they appeared out of thin air.
Fair enough, I'm with you.
This is not his terminology that he's using. Because the point he makes right after this is Wesley says that sounds like magic, and he's like, well, we'd appear to be magical to people in the Stone Age. Yeah. He makes that exact point. Is like, yeah, it would just look that way to us. And sure enough, later on when we get down to the planet and we see how they achieved this, it is literally they've got a portal machine and they just walk through a portal. So it's not the exact same as the transporter. It's not the exact same thing.
No, it's like paintings almost. It reminds me of the episode of the original series where they went back in time through the gateway.
Mm-hmm.
You can kind of see it on the other side, and it feels like it's like a still image, like a portrait.
No, it didn't, but okay.
It reminded me of that.
It was moving. You could see people moving on the other side. It's clearly a direct window.
No, I know, but the visual framing of it reminded me of that. I'm not saying it literally was a painting.
I wouldn't describe it as anything like a painting. I would describe it as a window, or a door, even.
Fine. It was more the frame of it that made me think of it.
It was a door shape. It was literally the height of a person, and as wide as a door.
It just reminded me of this. I'm sorry for using imagery.
I saw a car outside. It reminded me of a bike. That's basically the logic.
That is not the same thing.
That is the framing of logic of what you're saying right now.
It is not.
This is nonsense. It was a goddamn door. It's literally a door. Or they refer to it as a gateway when they get down there themselves. But same difference. Same difference. A gate is just a type of door.
I'm not willing to accept that.
It is.
No.
It opens and you go through it. It's a type of door.
No, I will tell you the key difference. A door is closed on all sides. A gate is usually open on at least the top or bottom, whereas a door has it has a frame that it locks into.
A gate is a type of door. A type of door where there's open space above it.
So it's not a door.
It is a type of door.
No. It's a gate, not a door.
It is a gate. I am saying a gate is a type of door.
And I'm saying you are wrong.
How is that wrong? It's a thing on a hinge that opens and you go through it. That's a door.
It is a hinge device, yes, but it is not a door.
A gate is a type of door. You could kiss my ass. I'm not having this.
And also, not all gates are on hinges. You can have, they can slide.
You can have sliding doors too.
You can. They still have a frame though. They close entirely. Gates don't.
Would you prefer that I said a door is a type of gate?
I think that's worse.
Well, shut up then and go with it. You can tell they're clearly related devices. They're very much based on the same principle logic.
They are.
So I don't know why you're fighting me so hard that a gate is a type of door.
I just fundamentally disagree, I guess.
But this logic, that both are wrong for the context of this scene because there's no actual door itself. It's just the frame of a door.
Which is why I said it reminded me of like a painting, like a portrait, a portal like that.
What do you mean a portal like a painting? Paintings are portals. This is worse than anything I just said.
No, that is something like I've seen in other media, like these, like frames of paintings that are like, oh, they're actually portals. It reminds me of that. With the way that like I say, there is no doorway, there is no gate on it. Although I suppose
no, there is a doorway. There's no door. There's a doorway. There's not a physical door.
Yes. Sorry, that was my misspeaking. There is no physical door, which is why it reminded me of the other things.
A gate is a type of goddamn door. And I'm sticking.
Comments will disagree.
I'm sticking to it. I gate is a type of door, and
I have no idea what we're talking about anymore.
Anyway, we jumped ahead to the portal anyway. We were still up the ship because Picard's like, okay, maybe we can get an idea down there of like how to like deal with this virus. Not that word again, but I'm using that because it's the most natural thing for me to say. And Picard's like, yes, I'm going in the away team. And Riker's like, oh, are you now, sir? We've had this conversation like 100 times. He's like, yeah, we'll have it again. But, and I thought he was going to argue, because my argument in my head before he explained why he should go down was that, well, if this fails, the whole ship's going to blow up anyway, so there's really no reason not to put me in danger at this point.
Yeah, and also just, hey, I'm captain, I outrank you.
Yes, but he's got an actual sound reason, is that Picard actually has an interest in this Iconian race. He studied the history, he studied the archaeology. He's the best bet of actually understanding anything, even though when they get down there, it's really Data who's the best bet, because he can actually process data quickly and, fiddle with things and whatnot.
Yeah, technology and shit.
Yes. But I do like that they address, because I was like, yeah, but isn't the transporter also going to be acting funky? And they do say, yeah, it's working right now, but we may not be able to bring you back. And I'm like, okay, they at least addressed that. They didn't just forget that this piece of tech should be immune to it or whatever, like, or shouldn't be.
It treats it fairly.
Yeah. So they go down, they're looking about, and of course, as this is happening, we know the Romulan ship, because we've barely mentioned the Romulans actually up until this point. The Romulans, you know, the main Romulan comes on the comms, and she's like, "Hey, like, you guys better leave. This is neutral zone. We leave immediately." And they cloak themselves, and they're kind of with the Enterprise the whole time, even though they're cloaked. And they come kind of back on after Picard's left with Worf and Data, and Riker kind of has to deal with them. And of course, Troy, with her thrilling insight, at all times in this episode, at one point she's like, "Oh, what's going on?" Troy's like, "Everyone on the ship is very, they're very stressed." They're like, "Oh, no shit, we may all be blown up in the next couple hours, and everyone's stressed. What a surprise!"
Yeah. I don't know why they keep her around.
I don't know. Because at one point, because he's like, "Hey, okay, they need to keep busy." That's their advice, to keep everyone busy so they'll think about it. He's like, "Okay, let's arrange an evacuation to the planet just to keep them busy. You can go and run it." And she's like, "But won't you need me on the bridge in case you have to talk to the Romulan again?" He's like, "I'll manage."
Yeah. And I love that the idea of, hey, this is life or death situation, so to distract you from that, we're going to practice an evacuation for this life and death situation.
Oh dear. Yeah. So, but I mean, there's some good stuff with the Romulan ship. It's nice to see them again, especially since they were reintroduced in the finale of season 1. This feels like one of the big first sort of meetings with them after that.
Even though it's not a huge interaction, really.
Yeah, but it's a constant threat of where they are, and the idea, the entire plot of this Iconian tech is around the idea that we can't let the Romulans get to. Because at no point does Picard say we should try and master it. He just wants to destroy it, because the Romulans getting it would be it would be like if like Russia got the nuclear bomb like a decade early, kind of thing.
Okay, that's fine. I was just a little worried that you might go off script with whatever analogy you were going to come up with there, but that was fine.
Piss off. I don't. Anyway, so they're down there, and Data's trying to work things out, but he gets jolted. This thing infects him, because he is, of course, a computer as well, after all. And they open this gateway and they're looking through it, and it's sort of like stuttering. It's like shifting from different locations.
It rotates through the places that it can go to.
Yeah, and one of them is the Enterprise. And like, oh, it's the Enterprise. That's a way back. We just have to time it and jump in when the time comes. And he's like, okay, Worf, you take Data, because if Geordi can study him and figure out what's going on, it may be the only hope the Enterprise has. I'm going to stay back and destroy everything. And there's a whole scene where Data, who's kind of out of it, is trying to explain like how to like trigger the system and whatever. And Worf's like, but sir, you'll die. He's like, well, no, I'll jump through the gate. He's like, but you could end up anywhere. He's like, that's true, but anywhere will be better than here when it's blown up, so I'll take the chance. And and there's a couple of moments here with Worf I like, actually, where Worf's kind of like saying, hey, this is really dangerous, like messing with this stuff. This could like be whatever. And Picard's like, yeah, but this will have to be the test then. And Worf's like, understood, sir. Like, he's just like, yeah, it's just do or die. We don't have much option.
Can't really argue with you on this one.
Also, I do like that when the portal first opens up, and Worf speculates that it's just a hologram, it's not real. And Data goes up and sticks his arm in it to see if it's a hologram. And Picard pulls his arm in, he's like, Data, that was really foolish and silly. And all I could think about was like Prometheus and like how stupid the scientists were in that, and how Picard's like staying on point.
I like how that's your go-to example of stupid scientists.
It is. That's my perfect example for stupid scientists.
I mean, no, don't get me wrong, they are. It's just, it's far from the only thing guilty of it.
Oh, sure. But that's a notable one from recent years, so...
Yeah, fair enough.
You can have it. And so the Data gets back on the ship, and Geordi is kind of tinkering with them, and it's Data essentially kind of like dies, where they're like, oh, there's nothing from him, he's gone. And it's kind of this morbid moment. And then he wakes up, he reboots, and it's like, wait, why is he okay? How did his system fight off this infection? And Geordi like stands there and theorizes, and ultimately, well, he turned off, purged it from his memory, and turned back on. Can we do that with the ship? Yes. Hence my joking, all they have to do is turn it off and turn it back on again.
It always works. It's always the first thing you should try, people.
And I love the idea that we're at the point now.
The problem here where it didn't have the vernacular yet for a virus. They didn't really know what it was doing entirely with the technology. It knew enough to say just turn it off and on again.
No, but here's the thing though. You expect me to believe that 300 years whatever in the future, where computers have went from their infancy and when this was made in the 80s. I mean, obviously they were around before then, but still relative to today, their infancy, right? And they've advanced so much that your computer does 90% of what the ship needs to do automatically. Computer runs everything. We're 300 years in the future, we have spaceships, and the first thought that one of them has is, let's turn it off and on again. That should be the first thing everyone thinks of.
Yeah, I'm just theorizing that generally speaking, their antivirus software is so good, they've never encountered the fact that they have to turn it off and on again before.
All right, this is what we're going with.
They're not using AVG. Let me tell you that.
Oh yeah, they've got McAfee. Yeah. McAfee, the antivirus support malware bytes of the Enterprise. Order yours now for $95.99. Should put that in their ads. No, so I mean, yeah, they do this. Last little bit of excitement, of course, because this works. Effectively it works, and the transporter's back online, which is good because when Picard goes through the door after like rigging everything to blow up, because he does this by releasing some of the spheres but trapping the door, so the rocket sort of take off, like blows everything up. It made enough sense when he was describing it. It's a bit,
It was a bit techno babbly though.
Yeah, it was a bit techno babbly, but it made enough sense that you got what they were saying.
Yeah.
But when he goes through the gateway, he actually ends up in the Romulan ship, and the Romulans are like sort of like holding their faces up to him, and he's like, "Oh well, ain't that just my luck?" And she's like,
"Not today, fellas.
You're gonna die with us because their all destructors turned on because they've got because that's the other thing, they've got all the same problems. The last time that they called Riker on the bridge, it was very clear that both ships were suffering the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We see the lights go off, and Riker kind of realizes, and it's like a good little moment, but. Picard phases away back to the Enterprise, and cracks some jokes. That's why you keep all these away missions to yourself, Commander Riker. That's where all the excitement is. So what's everything we got on here? Business as usual, and just sort of walks off with a smile on his face. And Riker's no, it was stressful as hell. I was worried that Romans were going to shoot us, and the ship was going to blow up. It was a nightmare.
Yeah. And Riker's just got a shit-eating grin. It's like, I got it all covered.
Yeah. And that's basically the end of the episode. Although they do, worth mentioning, Riker does call the Romulan ship, and it gets Geordi to send them the solution so that they can fix their own ship. Yeah. But of course, Warp hates it out of there, immediately, so that
before they actually fix their ship.
Yes, before they fix their ship, and just in case, and as he points out, in case they're not as good as Geordi and can't fix it in time. We should get away as well, just in case the ship explodes.
Yes, in case they're not as good as Geordi and can't turn their ship off and on again.
I mean, obviously, we're joking about some of the tech stuff from a modern day perspective, but honestly, the episode's pretty solid. I think the threat of the virus is interesting. It leads to some fun scenes with Geordi trying to get to the bridge. The Romulan threat is also kind of nice. It's a bit of world building, but it also, it does two things. It has the literal threat of them being in front of them and threatening to shoot them because they're in the neutral zone, which again reestablishes the neutral zone. But it also does the thing of like, no, the reason why we have to destroy this technology is that if Romulans get it, they're going to be super powered, and we have to deal with that. So
yeah, they're already pretty scary.
So yeah, it kind of ties things in nicely with its own. I mean, it only has one plot, but it kind of has like sort of subsets of its own plot.
It kind of goes through stages. Yeah, for the most part, I agree. I enjoyed it. I thought the bit that I found was a bit of a chore was the point where they thought it might have been a design flaw, because that didn't really play for me. Because okay, I can buy that there is a design flaw on these ships that will affect them, at some point. But the idea of these ships that were built not at exactly the same time, that have been in service probably, various lengths of times, they've been on different missions, and then within hours of each other happen to have the exact same problem from this design flaw. That felt a bit weird that they were so seriously
You're talking complete and utter bollocks right now. No one speculates that the Enterprise has a design flaw at all, because by the time the Enterprise starts malfunctioning, they've already kind of deduced that the other ship didn't have a design flaw.
Do they not think it was when when he was doing asking for the tea with Wesley. Do you not think it was potentially a design flaw at that point?
I mean, maybe you're right. I don't recall them actually thinking that the Enterprise had a design flaw.
I'm sure they were, because I'm sure I remember Picard thinking, well, if there is a design flaw that we've all got, we need to report this so that all the other ships can be sorted.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, but I don't remember like once the effects. Like I vaguely remember him. Actually, no, I think you're right. He says that, but I think that's before anything goes wrong in the Enterprise. I think it's just like, okay, if there's a design flaw, we have to figure out what it is and report it.
Maybe.
I think once stuff starts happening on the Enterprise, I don't remember ever really resting on maybe we've got the design flaw too.
That's what it did for a little bit at the start of it.
For the reason you just said, where it's kind of silly that both ships have it at the exact same time. So it immediately points to there's something that's affected both ships. Here in this space, or as we find out.
Yeah, so in my memory, there's a bit of overlap where before Geordi comes to the conclusion of what it actually is, they're like, well, it might still be this design flaw, and they're kind of worrying about it, and it felt a bit weird to me.
But hey, that's the episode. That's Contagion. What is a contagion if not a virus? Just
Yeah.
But no, the episode's pretty solid. It's probably one of the best of the season so far. Obviously behind the two sort of biggies we had back to
it's
back.
not near the standouts, but it's above most of the rest.
Yeah, it was an exciting episode with some good stuff. Nice bit of mythology tied in. I don't know if we're going to hear about the Iconians again, given that they blew up this.
Likely never.
Yeah. But intriguing all the same. So let's have a look and see what's coming next time.
Yeah. Hopefully something decent.
Next episode is called The Royale, and here's the description on IMDb. Worf, Data, and Riker find themselves trapped in a recreation of a poorly written novel. So it's a holodeck episode, is what you say. It's a holodeck episode.
Sounds like it.
Hey, it's not been that long since the last one. This may be a bit too frequent for my taste.
The last one was like episode 3 of this season, I think.
And this is episode 12.
Yeah, 2 a season.
That you're assuming. Well, okay. In this case, it probably is because this season's shorter because of the writer's strike and ends at 22. But this might have went 3 for the season if it had the full 26.
I mean, maybe, but generally speaking, I'd consider 12. That's close enough to halfway that it'd count as the second half of the season's holodeck episode.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you don't know if there's going to be another one.
Oh no, I don't. But as of right now, I'm assuming.
All right, I'm just saying. But
they could prove me wrong.
A bit soon after the Sherlock one from earlier in the season.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it is. I will keep my expectations muted for this one, I think. Yeah, so that was episode 11 of Star Trek Next Generation Season 2. You can let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments below. You can like and subscribe and all that stuff. You can get us on the Twitters at mailed_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show and everything we do here, you can head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you get some exclusive shows, you get some stuff early at certain tiers, and there's a bunch of other stuff you can go and find and look at. But mostly you get to keep all the content coming and feel warm and fuzzy on the inside. So you can, of course, get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz as well, which I may have said already. I don't know. But that is the end of the show. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching Star Trek, guys. And to everyone but Connor, live long and prosper.